What's up everybody, I'm Brian from Tesla and I got a really cool product for you today from Hannshow. As you guys know, Hannshow is sponsoring my build for my Model Y. Still waiting on a lot of the parts because things come over in boats from China. My carbon fiber body kit is stuck out in the ocean. I probably will get it maybe next month, maybe March, who knows. But in the meantime, they send stuff over by plane and it gets here a lot faster. And this is the stereo upgrade for my Performance Model Y. So this is some copyrighted music that I have access to, that I pay for the videos. It's about half volume. Okay, you're not going to hear the difference on your end, but I can hear it on my end. It's not just louder, it's cleaner. I get so much more volume out of these speakers here, the tweeters on the top and the bottom here, and the front row. It's tuned perfectly for the driver's seat. This sounds so much better, and I have the bass pretty low. Let me show you. So in the settings here, right now, new, you can adjust the sub level. That doesn't do anything right now, but I had to turn the bass down, and it actually sounds pretty good at 0, but a little bit higher is good. That's going to take some tuning, but this sounds so clean, so crisp, so gosh, it's so hard to explain. So I've had the system in the car for a few days now, and I'm definitely enjoying it. The crisp sound coming from the tweeters that I've never heard before is so much better. The bass I've turned way down because I'm not a huge, I don't want to thump and rattle my trunk everywhere, but I want good sounding bass. That's definitely what you get out of this system. I do recommend this for sure. It wasn't extremely difficult to install, and the benefits outweigh the pain of installation. But if these type of installations don't scare you, then I do recommend checking the link out below, and maybe you could be an installer. Maybe you can have a part-time job installing for Hannshow. Click the link, see where all the installers are for these products. There might not be anyone near you, and you can make some good money. Hannshow just told me one of their installers part-time for the last 2 years has made $100,000 on the side installing parts. And you install it one time, it gets faster the second time, and then even faster the third time. It's a nice way to, especially in these times, to make some extra money, pay for your car. I mean, $100,000, you can pay for your car just by installing parts, and then you might be able to get some parts for your car as well. There's a link down below if you want to install for Hannshow. It's a great opportunity. Also, they have a YouTube channel. Click that as well, because I don't install everything that they do. So you might want to see something you like, and if you do see something that you like on there, hit me up. I may contact them and install that, show you how to install it. But like I said, it's been a couple days here, and I'm just really, I got to go through and tighten up some things, especially in the back seat area. There's some loose panels I got to put back together. There's some clips I got to make sure stayed in place and things like that. But I love the system. If you're interested in this, there is a discount code down below. Use that. Get your system now, and maybe find an installer if you don't feel comfortable doing it. But you can follow my directions in the Model Y. And if you want a great tutorial on a Model 3, check out CF Tesla's review on the same system, but in a Model 3. He did a while back, a few months ago, I think, and he is enjoying the system as well. He does a lot of good work. So subscribe to his channel as well, because we're all here together to show off each other's stuff too. We want to help each other out. Make 2022 a better year for everyone, not just you individually, but let's make it better for everyone. If you like to, watch the install, enjoy this content, and I'm gonna enjoy the system because it sounds great. Hannshow is an awesome company that has supported me for a long time, and still a lot more to come. Now, Tesla makes a great sound system, but this sounds so much better. If you're an audiophile, if you're paying for title music, you need something like this for sure. Something that you can dial in with a DSP. You can dial in exactly what you want. All right, I'm gonna turn you off so I can listen to some more. So what we have here is a whole new speaker enclosure with a new subwoofer, a new amp, and a new DSP, digital signal processor. So what you can do is through USB and a computer with software, you can actually tune this thing to be amazing. This is already tuned for this car, but you can actually get in there and someone that knows what they're doing with a microphone, and they can tune your car perfectly. This is really the only way you can get a really good sound. You can spend a ton of money on high-end car equipment. If you don't have one of these things, you're not going to have the full sound, the best sound you can get out of this. Now, Tesla does have a DSP built into the computer, but it's a generic one. So we're going to bypass that with a large Anaconda type wiring harness that came with the car. I'm going to show you the full install. Is it going to drain power? Probably a little bit, but not much. Tesla's sound system is all off of the 12-volt battery, so really it's the big battery charging the little battery. So that little battery isn't that much. You're not talking miles per day. Let me show you this wiring harness, and I'm kind of explaining it to you because we're going to attach to the audio system out of the autopilot computer. It's the bottom cable, really easy to get to. It's not like those other cables. We're going to run these two boxes underneath the center console, and then of course this goes in the trunk. We're going to replace the factory one with this one. So starting up front, this would be the passenger side of the car. This is where the autopilot computer is. This is going to just pigtail in that cable. It's just collecting all the signals and then running over to underneath the center console, where this is going to be plugged into the DSP and the amp system. Everything is, you can't plug these things in wrong. So it's not that difficult. This goes into the amp. These get the signal wire. This is power, which we're going to get from behind the seat, and then this goes into the DSP. We follow this back down to the back of the car. There's a lot of cable here. Because maybe they were thinking I was going to turn this into a limousine. This goes to the power in the back seat, and then we continue back to the wiring harness that goes back to the subwoofer in the back and the factory amp, because we're going to actually have that as well. So this is going to be a fun install. I'm going to be taking things apart from the trunk all the way up to the autopilot computer, basically all on the passenger side of the car. I've done this many times before. We're going to start by opening things up with the trunk. It's quite dark in here, but we need to remove all this. You're going to pull up on this. You're going to get your hand underneath it in the corner and just pull. Set that aside. Grab this, move this out. And grab a couple pry tools, because we're going to be prying out these little clips, and they're really not that hard to take out. Put it over there. Again, mine's been apart a couple times. I actually broke this before I was able to figure out how this comes apart, but they do just pop right off. And you notice one of these white clips went flying. I'm going to find that later on and then put it back on here before we move too far forward. Pop this loose here. And then we're going to move this out of the way. Yes, these cars do come apart that easy. And hopefully by watching my videos, you've learned not to pull things too hard. And I mean, I could put that back together. Removing the seat in the Model Y, you just grab the bottom of it and kind of yank up. Now there's some wires on here. You don't want to just yank this out of here, but I am going to remove this because we're going to get into this corner. We're going to pop this piece off and then all the way up front there. But I am going to take this off. There is one connection. It's on the other side. I'm going to disconnect that, and then this whole thing can come up. Once you disconnect that wire, you can take the seat out. Then right here, just yank on these pieces. Comes right up. Again, I probably have more wires in my car than you guys will. No worries. Just continue what I'm doing here. So we move up to the front. We're going to take off this panel here because there's a pin that you need to remove here, and then we're going to remove this piece along with the floor mats. We're also going to remove this panel so we can get back in here so we can put all the DSP stuff. Before we pull the carpet back, we have to pull this panel down so we can get to the autopilot computer, which is back there. To remove this panel, I like to grab up here and just pull. there's so much room back in here. This is where we're going to put the system. Right on here, there's a bunch of double-sided tape that we're going to put down here and move things out of the way. But before we do that, we have to pull this carpet back so we can get to the computer. Here's the computer right here. We're going to be tapping into this one right here, the bottom one. I have some other ones for the Hannshow screen and some other units that I have in the car, but we're going to tap into this one here. So right now I'm in the process of sorting out the wiring. What I did first was ran the wire through. You want to make sure you go under the seat belt because the seat belt attaches there. Somehow we're going to have to get this thick wire inside here, or just pull the carpet back and slide it in there. I think there's plenty of room there. We just got to remove this, which looks like that will pop that off and then loosen that up. Follow this down through here, and then it ends up in the back here. We're going to remove this. We're going to remove this speaker, the whole speaker box and everything, and then we're going to replace with other Hannshow stuff. All this attaches to those up there. This looks the easiest part back here. Not too worried about that, but this is what I kind of am worried about. There's a lot of wires here, a lot of thick wires that we got to get over into there, and don't know the best way to do this yet. All right, it's the next day. I've got a bigger light here so I can see a little bit better, but I've really focused on trying to figure out how to manage this gigantic snake of wires and get it to the right spots. Now, if you remember, we put the computers over here and then we have to get over to this computer. So it doesn't make sense to wrap up into here and then over to that way. It makes more sense to try to cut through because there is a way to get through this seat. And right through here, there's a vent. I've pulled this carpet back, and there's actually a channel underneath that we can run this gigantic cable through, but we have to get it through the seat somehow. Well, because the Model Y is up on risers, there's actually a tunnel that goes right through there, through the other side into the center console area. So what I've done is I've gotten enough wire where this is going to attach to these wires down here, so this needs to be this area. I pulled this carpet loose so I can feed the snake through and then get to underneath there. So I'm going to just feed all the cable through and then feed it over into the center console, tie it up somehow, some way underneath something, and then make sure it doesn't rattle, although they do have it wrapped in this fabric so it's not going to make noise. And then we'll be able to hook up the other devices in there. This one to run to the computer, which there's plenty of length there as well. And then this whole front will be done, and then we just need to worry about the back end. I think that right here is just going to be the hardest part because of putting the DSP and the amp underneath the center console. So far so good. We got the wire tucked underneath here, going underneath the seat. This is the factory wiring system. That just clamps right down into this plastic piece and then loops in. This piece actually hooks into the plastic cover here. I did remove that. It's not probably necessary to remove that, but maybe to get that thick cable past there, because it's pretty hard in here. We're making good progress. Right here is a tunnel that goes right through and is easy to get to. You can stick your hand in there. Be careful because there's sharp metal in there. I mean, I've been digging my hand through there and I got a couple cuts. So wear some gloves, I guess. And it would be nice to have two people. You got one person back there feeding wire through as you grab it. But I'm able to get everything through. So back here, I just have to tuck that wire underneath and then close this area up and we're moving on to the section up there. So I was able to feed all the wire up into here. Now this is the wire that's going to come across over to the computer. There's actually a channel behind this foam. This foam just moves. I'm going to feed it through the back of there and it'll go right up into the computer really easily. And then there's a lot of slack here. I was able to push some of the wire back into here, kind of twist it around, and so it's stored underneath the center console, which is good. It's in the back. There's nothing back there. So I'm pretty much done here. I'm going to finish disassembling. I'm going to take the subwoofer out and the amp off. So everything is a 10 millimeter. Before I take this off and unplug it, I'm going to turn the car off again. It's always a good idea when you're messing with the electricals to turn things off. These are hard to come off. There we go. we go. There's the factory amp. There's not much to this, but we are gonna reuse this. We're gonna set that. Oh, this is free. Look at all that dust on there. Whew. And now you can see inside of the wheel well. So this is making a bunch of noise. I think I'm going to put some Dynomat on there before I put the speaker in. That way it deadens the sound a little bit. Not so much here. This is nice and solid. That's the one-piece cast, or actually the two-piece cast for my car. And then, so I'm going to clean that up a little bit and then put the Dynomat in there. That's something you don't have to do. That's me. All right, that didn't take long. It's just a couple pieces. I put one on the outside of the car, which is actually going to deaden some of the sound. Because listen, it sounds quite a bit different than the other side. Let me show you. That sounds nice and hollow. This is going to quiet this whole area, and then with the bass from the new sub with the extra power, it's going to be that much quieter. It's going to make less road noise. I had a bunch of this left over from when I sound deadened the frunk of my car, wrapped the frunk of the car, because I have the air compressor in there for my air ride suspension. And if you're interested in that, there's plenty of videos on that. But let me show you the difference between these speakers. So this enclosure is quite a bit larger. This is the Tesla one, and then this is the aftermarket one. Now, you know what they say, it's not the size of the enclosure, it's actually how it sounds and how it works. There's a bad joke in there somewhere. The connections are on the back of this right here. There's nothing on the back of this one. This is just a plastic housing. This is nice and sturdy, and that's what will make a big difference as well in the sound. A nice solid structure for your subwoofer is going to give you a cleaner bass. It's going to give you a cleaner sound than a rattly plastic one from Tesla. Let's see if we can put this in here and hook up the wires. Yep, and I can get perfectly to those wires. We can get perfectly to the back of that. So this is the speaker wire that went into the sub. These can only go in certain places. Plug this into the back of here. And I'll tidy up the wires once we know it works. We're plugged into the back of the speaker. The speaker's right here. We're plugged into the factory amp, and then everything is run forward. Now we just need to plug in everything up front. Before we get up front, let's work on the power. We're going to plug into this. It sounds really scary, but this is the power for the seats. It's not really power from the main pack. We're not having a ton of voltage through here. That would be on the other side, I believe, where the fuse is. This is the main shutoff for the car. We're just going to go right here. And don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean this isn't scary, because it is, because it's really hard to get to the negative side. It's behind over here, and the positive is right here. We're going to tap into those with these wires. They already have the crimps on them. The green one is the ground, which is the negative. The white one is the positive wire that we're going to go to that one. The red one there. That was clipped there. But thankfully it's off, because we're going to use that to our advantage. We're going to use that to give more access to this. So since I can't really get to that one easily, I think I'm just going to hook it to this ground here, because this wire just goes right to that ground and makes the body a ground. All right, so it says to hook up the negative first, which is the green wire, and let's play around with some of this extra first. So the green wire is going to go back to here, which is the ground here. And that is not a 10 millimeter. That one actually is a 12. And that one's going to go to the positive. And this is really hard to get to because of this bracket, this seat. So how about before we do that, let's disconnect the main battery and the 12 volt. So we probably should have done this from the very beginning. Open up all the doors that you need, and then disconnect the negative terminal from the battery, and then on model Y, if you disconnect this cable right here, this disconnects the main pack from charging the 12 volt battery. So now the car is completely off. We shouldn't have any scares of anything. I mean, there is still a ton of power in this battery pack, so you definitely want to be careful. Don't touch anything orange, but red can hurt. It just won't kill. Orange will kill. Since the seat has moved forward, after this, we'll have to move the seat, or hook everything back up, move the seat back so we can plug everything back in there. Probably would have been better to move the seat back first so we have plenty of room. But whatever. Figuring this crap out for you guys, so it makes your job, makes your install super easy. And it would make the next one for me super easy too, but I'm not doing that because I only have one car that this will work with. So you still want to be careful not to hit metal with this, just in case. I mean, I just did there, but because if I'd have touched that with that, if I'd have touched the metal with this, could have been a bad day. Definitely would have got a shock. Would have scared me more than anything. But the scarier part would be if I jumped, dropped this, it stayed on something, arced longer, and then caused a fire. If they'd have done an open-end one, could have slid it right in. Probably with the right socket, this would be a lot easier. But I don't have my socket set out, and by the time I go get that socket set, I'll have this off. I'm just going to put a slot in the side, and this will be good. Put everything back to the way it was, put the seat back in as in reverse, put the power back on so I can move the seat back, and then now we're moving underneath the center console. This sounds like a lot, but I'm trying to figure this out as I'm doing it. Like I said, it would be a lot easier for the second one, and no, I'm not going to do yours. There's plenty of installers all over the country or all over the world that can do this. If I can do it, they can do it for sure. Just contact them. There's a link down below to find all the locations if you want someone else to install this for you. Or just use my tutorial on what not to do, and then you know, you've been watching. If you have, I mean, most of you have clicked away by now, and I don't blame you. I probably wouldn't stay either, but thanks for staying, and you're probably a subscriber. If you're not, subscribe to the channel because you're dedicated. And now for the fun part. I suggest getting one of these lights that go on your forehead. That way you can see, because these minor lights, so you can see inside of here. And this is where we're going to spend the rest of our time, up into here and then over into the autopilot computer. I'm going to get everything working before I put all this stuff together. Like I said, I want to hear it, close the windows, turn this thing on and listen to it and see, make sure everything sounds really good. So what I did was plugged everything into the back of this. The power and the ground go here. And then the two connections, again, you can't put these wrong. The only ones you can do wrong are these two right here. They're actually labeled right where they go. So number 12 and number 11 are the ones at the end here. Those are the only ones that you can possibly go put in wrong. Hooked up to the DSP, everything's sitting here. I went up here and you can barely see, but it's this wire here in the you just pull this one out, and then there's a splitter that goes right up in there, and you just replace that. One last thing is this plugs into the back of the subwoofer. This is just to adjust the gain and the phase of the subwoofer. So we're just going to set these to the middle. So I'm just going to double check that everything's plugged in. We got all the wires plugged in except for this. This went to the subwoofer that was there before. We don't need that because that was the only wire going to it. All this hooked up, the positive and the negative are here. They're plugged in to the Hannshow amp and everything. And now it's time to turn everything back on and see what it sounds like. Are you excited? Because I'm excited. I'm definitely excited. All right, here goes nothing. Plug back in the big battery, and then now I'm gonna plug in the 12 volt. So there's still a ton of work putting everything back together again, but I'm super pleased already. And thanks for watching. Order yours today. Thank you, Hannshow, for sending this out. And I know everyone's gonna like it. Got some rattling back there, but I gotta tighten up that subwoofer. As you remember, I didn't tighten it all the way, but I'm super happy with it. And you will be too. Use my code, save some money. I'll catch you on the next one. I'll see you.